So we'll go ahead and now introduce our first speaker, Patrick Hunter. Patrick is the founder of Patrick Hunter Art and Design. Patrick Hunter is a two-spirit Ojibwe artist, graphic designer, and entrepreneur from Red Lake, Ontario. In 2011, he made the move to Toronto to pursue a career in the arts after completing the graphics design program at Salt College, Ontario. Knowing that his cultural background was an asset to his success, in 2014 he launched Patrick Hunter Art and Design, specializing in fine and digital artwork and designs from his Ojibwe roots, with the intent to create a broader awareness of indigenous culture and iconography. He currently resides in Toronto and he is busily preparing to launch a made in Canada collection of apparel and houseware products. Welcome, Patrick.
Hello. I hope everyone can hear and see me. Yeah, first time kind of doing something like this, especially on this amazing platform. Thanks you to Venture Labs for supplying this for us. Yeah, I'm Patrick Hunter. What Manuj just said, I did all those things. I am just kind of not just starting out, but it's been about 8 years since I've started my company as a graphic designer and artist. And I think in the beginning, it wasn't really clear what I was really supposed to be doing. I was leaving, just kind of odd jobs that weren't really serving me, like as a cook, and then also like working in retail. And, looking back on those things now, I was like, of course, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, but it's hard to see that when you're just in the daily slog of it, trying to make, pay some bills here and there. And once I realized that those jobs weren't for me, I kind of fell back onto painting and designing, remembering that I was a graphic designer. The college I went to is called Sioux College. It's easy to kind of mess that up, but yeah, I had gone there and then moved to Toronto, which is, it might be the wrong city to move to be a graphic designer, but in the beginning, you just want to be somewhere new and in the thick of exciting things like Toronto is. But yeah, it wasn't working out, and I kind of fell back on stuff that I'd always done, which was painting and designing. And then they give me about 10 minutes to say this stuff, so it's going to be quick. The timeline of this took 8 years, but it throughout that whole time, it was a steep climb up to like where I'm up to now, which is where I'm trying to figure out how to navigate these slides. Hold on. I've been in the news lately. If you follow hockey, what recently just created the goalie helmet for Marc-Andre Fleury. If you don't follow hockey, he's a goalie. I didn't follow hockey, so I am just sort of figuring out who he is as well. But yeah, he works for this team. He plays for this team, sorry, called the Blackhawks. And I was, asked to work with them earlier on in the year. And I think what I want to talk about a little bit, not, excusing the first 5 years of work, but like the last 3 have really kind of been where I've been able to shine a lot more because, bills are paid, and the intention of the work has changed quite a bit more from just trying to pay the bills and get my artwork in any form onto people's walls. Now it's more about like, what is the intention behind these collaborations that I'm doing? And the intention behind the work that I'm up to is more about like broader awareness of indigenous iconography. Because where I grew up in Canada, which is like a little place called Ontario, sorry, Red Lake, Ontario. Ontario's fucking huge, by the way. It takes like 2 days to drive across. And where I grew up, there just was a lot of love for indigenous artwork and culture. And then as I moved south to Sault Ste. Marie, which is like in the middle of the province, 15 hours away from where I grew up. And then I moved from there to Toronto. I just saw less and less of my culture reflected in more public spaces. So reflecting back on that now, 10 years out from my first initial landing here in the city. The goal is to kind of see my culture reflected in more public spaces. So being able to work with places like, or companies or organizations like the Blackhawks, for instance, or hockey teams, that's part of the goal, is broader awareness of indigenous iconography through the game of sports. Um, in this next slide, I recently also, it happened in the same week. Well, it was talked about in the same week. But when you work for these teams, you have to kind of keep secrets. And so a lot of this artwork has been done since March, but it's the same thing. Like, there needs to be more indigeneity out there in the world, and there's a lot of good stories to tell, and are a lot of, I think, what's out there in the mainstream culture is a lot about trauma. Not that it's, people need to know about residential schools as well, but they also need to know about the excellence of my community as too, our community, to all of the other indigenous artists and entrepreneurs and graphic designers that are in on this call. That's part of it as well. And, if I can help start these conversations through, a design on a hockey helmet or, on a jersey, then the work is done. And whether that be a hard, triggering conversation or, I love that jersey. Where did it come from? Who made it? What is the symbolism behind this? I think that's important, and that's kind of what my job is over the next couple years, I hope, however long I have left in this business. And then, last thing I want to talk about real quick is just like being able to not just like do artwork for the sake of that, but like when you can pair what you're good at with like a broader message, such as Every Child Matters, Orange Shirt Day. That's when I think, that's when it feels good, is when your talent meets up with a greater cause, and you're able to kind of service something that's bigger than you. And I've been able to do that, believe it or not, from where I came from up in the bush in Red Lake. And it's not something I take lightly. I've been able to be recognized for the work that I'm up to, from two organizations like Powwow Pitch, and then also the Canadian Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. And last thing, because I know we're on time limit, it wasn't until I was super duper real with myself. I'm a gay man, but I'm also indigenous. And for the longest time earlier on, I tried to hide those things, and just the work just looked very stagnant and gross and dumb. And it wasn't until I really just leaned into those things, my cultural heritage and who I am as a person, and that's when success really started to come and boil up for me. And it's been good, because I've created this life for myself through being an entrepreneur. And then kind of in the beginning of this whole conversation, entrepreneurs helping other entrepreneurs. My door is always open. Patrick Hunter _art on Instagram. If you have any questions about anything you want to do entrepreneurial wise, please. I'm no one told me anything. I just had to figure it out, and it wasn't always fun. So if I can make it easier for someone else coming after me, I'm very happy to do that. I guess we're going to open up for questions if there is time. I'm not even really sure how much time I used up, but that's a little bit of my talk.
Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much. Very inspiring story. It's great to see this art. It's very inspiring. One question that comes to mind is, you mentioned that you didn't really hit the stride until you really lean into who you really were. So I always say entrepreneurship is like a self-discovery journey.
Yeah.
And so how did you get inspired? Like, what triggered that thought that you really need to lean into who you are as a person? Did something happen? Did somebody talk to you about it? Or
Well, I just wasn't getting any work. And, when you're getting burned alive by fryer grease every day working in a place called Gabby's in Toronto, it's a telltale sign that maybe you shouldn't be working as a cook if you can't do it. So,
Mm,
but I'd always designed on the side and always painted, and then I was like, if I didn't have to show up to this job, then I'd have more time to do it. So there's signposts in your life that are leading you to what you need to do. And I
yeah.
think if you're open to seeing those signposts and kind of really read it,
Mhm.
the you know you can go down the road of being an entrepreneur. And like you said, it is a journey of self-discovery. It is,
Yeah.
it's taught me a lot about myself than I've ever thought possible.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, like, it seems like you're really passionate about this, and you stuck for it for several years, even though you said that earlier on you were not getting a lot of success. So one thing that jumps out is, you being an entrepreneur is also about finding your true passion. Like, if you're not doing what you love, it's kind of difficult to sustain. Is it not?
I think, finding what you're good at and what you love is part of it for sure. But I think there's a balance of it as well. Like, it doesn't have to just be, oh, I'm good at painting, I'm just going to do painting. Like, I branched out and I started making clothes. I started doing, this isn't my mug or my shirt, but
Yeah.
um, you know, you do mugs, you do Christmas ornaments, you do like, there's lots of different applications to put your artwork onto. And the base of it all is just like, I'm making people happy. And
Mm.
when they
Yeah.
buy that shirt, or they put that mug, or they have that mug, or
Yeah.
they put
Yeah.
that Christmas ornament or that thing on their wall, they love that. And
Yeah.
it fuels the fire. Like, it just keeps me going. And once I kind of started to see that, like through going to, festivals where I would be tabling at events, you can really see that passion that people have for your stuff. And
Yeah.
it really just makes you want to keep going and figuring out better ways to do it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Yeah, I mean, as you said, like, if you focus on the happiness of people and
Yeah.
the clients that you're serving, things start to fall in place. So thanks for sharing your inspiring story, and congratulations on all your success.
Oh, thanks.
Please stay in touch. And it's really great to see that you are open to helping other entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.
Yeah, come on. Patrick Hunter _art on Instagram. Hit me up if you have any more questions beyond this chat we have tonight. I'm happy to talk to you all.
Awesome, awesome. Great. Actually, there were two questions. In professional sports, NFL's Washington Redskins finally changed their name to Washington Football Club, and baseball's Cleveland Indians are changing their name for next season. As the NHL's Chicago Blackhawks are not planning to rename the team, did you find designing Marc Andre Fleury's helmet as an opportunity to embrace indigenous culture in a positive way?
How much time do we have?
Maybe 30 seconds.
Okay, so I understand where the Chicago Blackhawks are coming from in wanting to kind of change the narrative of their whole team. It's not an easy ship to turn. They have a fandom of millions and millions of people. Is a land acknowledgement trite? I don't know if it is. I think it's a great first step. And, putting the artwork that's in the land acknowledgement onto the helmet is like, a continuation of that
Yeah,
sort of same story. And I think there's more work to do. And I'm not done with them, and I don't think that they're done with me either. But we're sorting it out and giving, the rest of the world a playbook for towards reconciliation, I think.
well said. Well said. And one more question is, how do you think the landscape for entrepreneurship has changed since you first started? Do you think it's harder or easier to start a business for minorities?
Well, I would first recommend finding a chamber of commerce. There's the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business, there's the Canadian Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce, and then there's a couple other ones just geared towards women. One's called CAMC. Start there, become a member, figure out how to do that, and then the rest will kind of fall in line. Like I said, if there's any more questions around those things, just ask me again. But I didn't know what they were for the longest time until 3 years in. And then that's when it's like an elevator pitch that lasts like a whole party.
Yeah,
You have a long time to be able to talk to them and pitch your business. And there's a lot of money out there for diverse spends. So it's like, minority owned businesses, and
yeah,
it's great. So start there, and also do mugs. Just
yeah.
sell mugs. People
Oh,
love tea and coffee, so you're gonna
that's
sell out.
great advice. Finding communities to and reaching out to for help is great way to grow
Yeah,
a business. Thank you so much, Patrick. It
no
was
problem.
really insightful. Thank you.
Thanks. Good
Awesome.
night.